Welcome to the Westport Library. Today's program will begin momentarily. Supported by Verso Studios, created locally and shared with the world.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the 2025 State of the Town. The two Westport Rotary Clubs are the sponsors of this event, in case you forgot that. And so I am Katie Augustin. I'm president of the Westport Sunrise Rotary Club.
And I am Goldie James, president of the Westport Rotary. I too welcome you, as well as the streamers are online. When I first visited this town 35 years ago, I was inspired to move here, not only by the good schools and beauty of the town, but by a hot pink building on Main Street, the remarkable bookstore. Do you all remember that? Unfortunately, it's gone, but now we have this remarkable library. And I want to thank this library and the staff for hosting us one more time. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Let's hear it for the Westport Library. Woo!
I also want to thank, before I forget, the Honorable Jen Tooker. These boots are made for walking, Jane. And for her leadership, as well as Lee Goldstein. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes. And in case you didn't also know, there are two Rotary clubs in Westport. And our club, the Sunrise, meets on Friday mornings, the first 3 Fridays of every month for breakfast in the beautiful community center at Greens Farms Church. We would love for you to come to one of our meetings and visit to find out more. And you know, both of our clubs are nonprofit organizations, and we do hands-on service projects in our community. We also raise money to support a lot of area charities, probably over about 50 this year, as well as to fund and work on projects with some of the other 45,000 Rotary clubs that are part of Rotary International. And they're in almost every country around the world. And Rotary's mission is to promote integrity, to advance understanding, goodwill, and peace. And our club's motto is, do good, feel good, have fun.
It's a great motto. The Westport Rotary Club, that I'm president of, in its 100th year, meets for lunch at the same location as the Sunrise Club, the Greens Farms Church at 71 Hillendale Road. Please feel free to join us for lunch and camaraderie. The lunch will be on us, and it will be delicious. Let's bring our community together and share and learn from our differences. We intend to continue to be inclusive and diverse. Thank you. For more information, please check the tables on the side by the windows, and or go to our website, westportrotary.org.
Yeah, absolutely. So our big fundraiser for the Sunrise Club is the Great Duck Race, which happens right out here in front of our beautiful library the last Saturday of June. How many of y'all have already been to a Great Duck Race? Yeah, and if you haven't, this year, June 28th, our other big fundraiser is Westport Uncorked, which is a wine tasting event. We usually hold at Longshore, and we're going to do it again this year because they're still going to be there in October. And the other one is our Super Bowl raffle, which is happening right now. Yeah, you can go to the table and you can scan the QR code and you can buy a ticket to support charities and also win money. Yes, yes. And our website is westportsunriserotary.org.
We bring you the Lobster Fest. That's our big fundraiser. It takes place at the end of September at Campo Beach. Probably a lot of you have been there.
Yep.
And whether you buy tickets, sponsor, or volunteer, know that all the money raised is donated. 75% goes to community service organizations in the area and neighboring communities, and 25% to international projects, such as building hospitals in Uganda, schools in Kenya, Morocco, water projects in Ukraine, and many other projects around the world. We also provide scholarships for students here and abroad.
Yeah, do a lot of great work. And also, both clubs have a variety of youth-oriented services, including the four-way test speech contest, which is based on the signs you can see over by our tables, the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. And there will be a little quiz after this event for all of y'all, just so you don't feel left out. Yeah, so thank you again for being here. I'm told this is the 8th state of the town, yeah. And now we would like to introduce our moderator for today. Come on up, Jeff Weezer, who will tell us more. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you.
No, thank you, thank you. Thanks, Katie and Goldie. Welcome everybody here. This, for those who cannot see online, this place is packed, and there are many more people on the YouTube channel and on Channel 79 listening in on today's State of the Union, so thank you for being here. I'm honored to be the moderator again this year. Eileen Flug and I were both presidents of the Westport Rotary and Westport Sunrise when this started 8 years ago, and we are also honored that Jen Tooker and Lee Goldstein have agreed to continue the tradition of providing their state of the town to the town. I mean, it really is not a necessary thing, but it really is. Talks to the transparency and the openness that we've all taken on and understand to be so important to the town. So I'm honored to be here, honored to have all of you. And last year's 2024 State of the Town is still on the website, so it will be replaced on Monday probably with today's, and it really is a good opportunity for everyone to catch up on what all is going on in town. A little housekeeping. Oh, and before I go, I do also want to mention that I'm honored to be here in the Trev's Forum. We've all read, I think, about the obituary of Christian Trevs, who passed away this week. And I think this is a wonderful example of philanthropy to the town, in support of the town, which is certainly both to be appreciated and acknowledged. And I certainly appreciate that from the Trevs family for all they've done for Westport, and we certainly acknowledge his passing. So on to housekeeping. For those of you who have not already received a note card, and if you have a question, please raise your hand, and we have runners from the 2 Rotary clubs who will give you a pen, and a beautiful Homes with Hope pen that Helen McLendon says is yours for the keeping. It's a beautiful pen. So get the pen and a note card. Write down a very provocative question, just as provocative as you can be, for Lee and Jen. They'll appreciate that. And then it'll be picked up and it'll come over to our other Rotary volunteers. We're just trying to make sure we don't ask the same question 10 times. So they're going to collate some of the questions, and then I'll get those after Lee and Jen speak, and then we'll get on to the questions. So without further ado, let me introduce Lee Goldstein. Lee is a graduate of Yale. She taught high school English before her move to Westport and her time on the Board of Ed. She has been PTA co-president for all the PTAs, and in great timing, you've really got to appreciate the fact that Lee took over, became president of the Coleytown Middle School PTA right before they closed down and rebuilt their building. And then she's been chair of the Board of Ed. She's been on the Board of Ed since 2019 and chair for the last 4 years, right before we started talking about long lots. So I think Lee really, I'm going to pull the arrows out of her back before she comes up, but she's really fought hard for all the schools, and we're very lucky to have her. So Lee Goldstein, come on up.
Can I close this? No? Yes? Yes, I can close it? Okay. Stop. Good afternoon. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you both Rotaries for sponsoring this, and thank you to the library for hosting it. Thank you, Jen Tooker, partner in crime here. And I also want to thank and acknowledge Jen Caputo, who is part of our central office team. She was instrumental in creating this presentation with me. Also, if I may, I'd like to wish my husband Charlie a happy birthday. I don't know if this is the dream birthday, but here we are. Yeah, so Westport loves education, and I speak on behalf of our entire board again when I say what an honor and privilege it is to serve and be part of this entire system of staff, families, students, town agencies, and boards who passionately and with ample resources support Westport schools. I'll begin with a standard, our awards slide. Our students, faculty, and system rack up awards year after year. Again, state and national arts awards, newspaper and literary magazine, and student science journal awards, individual and group student awards in history, science, math, teacher awards, top school district and individual school awards, national merit scholarships, presidential scholars, sports championships, as well as state and national recognition of individual athletes, state and national recognition of student musicians and visual artists, History Day and We the People championships, achievements in world languages, financial literacy, TV and radio media. The list goes on, and I could have filled up a lot more slides. Our students and faculty consistently achieve at remarkable levels. One of the board's favorite agenda items is when we learn about the last year's class post-graduation plans. An overwhelming percentage of our students go on to college straight out of high school, others to work, gap years, and military service. Here you see a sampling of the schools our students attend. The class of 2024 applied to 375 colleges and universities and planned to attend 176 different institutions, including each year more going internationally. 2 points. First, we hear so regularly, no matter what school our kids attend, they feel extremely well prepared and capable. And second, on the last slide, go back? It doesn't matter. On the last slide, you will see that 88% of the students report being very satisfied or satisfied with their post-high school plans. And that's what we're most proud of. More than the awards, more than the prestige of this or that named school, we are proud that our students leave Westport Public Schools equipped for what comes next and happy and excited to begin their next chapter. Last year, I talked about so many new things we were doing, new initiatives, programs, and perspectives. So this year, I want to talk about just a couple of them and how they're developing. First is our commitment to student engagement, agency, and voice. Student government at Staples had languished, but in the last year, Staples Student Council has gone from 0 to 60 in record time. The council brings concerns from the students to our faculty and administration, and they've made significant improvements. Academic initiatives include changes to our assessment support centers and exam schedules, as well as connections activities. They've developed wellness initiatives during exams and at the library, better logistics in the cafeteria, and safety practices. Right now, they're working on implementing Staples' first ever school-wide field day. And we remember that no matter how grown and serious they look, they're still kids. Our middle school student reps are also bringing feedback to teachers and administration. In this picture, you see Bedford students addressing a faculty meeting about spirit days, decorating the building, community fundraising, and fun school social events. The students also organized and planted those courtyard flowers. At Coley Middle, students have identified their top 3 issues for the year: student assessments, changes to the teaching learning time block, and paper towels in the restrooms. Even our elementary student councils take the lead on planning school spirit days, fundraisers, and community builders. We are now in the second year of welcoming student representatives to our board table. And if you tune into our meetings, which I hope you do, you will hear for yourself how profound and insightful the students are. They do not vote, but we take their input seriously, and their contributions influence both board member and administration perspectives. Just this past week, our student reps voiced concerns about a proposed schedule change at the high school, and we're taking a second look. A new but already beloved tradition is our new senior walks created by our PTA, where graduates return to their elementary schools and are cheered on by and interact with the current students and teachers. This proved meaningful to everyone involved. We heard from the younger students that they found the graduates inspiring, while the older students expressed feeling an enhanced sense of belonging, pride, and growth. Of course, teachers adore seeing their former students, and even newer teachers appreciate the vision of what their own students will become. It's a pretty simple event, and yet it has produced so much gratitude all around. Last year, we, the board, faculty, and community, spent a lot of time reviewing our code of conduct, particularly discussing response to student acts of bullying and discrimination. But as a school district, our first best response in everything is education. In this case, to prevent mean and excluding behavior. No Place for Hate, developed by ADL Education, is a student-led program to build learning communities of respect and inclusivity. Every school forms a student-faculty committee that is responsible to host a school-wide voluntary pledge signing, and then, over the course of the year, 3 age-appropriate activities to address identity, bias, and bullying, to promote respect and a sense of belonging for all. We chose No Place for Hate specifically because it is founded on the principle of student voice and engagement. Our students take the lead in teaching and then developing and running the activities. When we talk about student voice, we often neglect our student newspapers. They're so firmly entrenched. But our student journalists are integral to our school cultures, providing a forum for students to be heard and affect change, to inform and opine, and to hold the adults accountable to student concerns. My fellow board members and I are regular readers of all our student publications, particularly Inklings at Staples, and they apprise us unfiltered of what's on our students' minds. School Climate at Staples has advisors who are dedicated to creating a committee where students, faculty, and parents listen to one another in constructive discussions designed to implement change and improvement. Recently, this committee has been instrumental in facilitating, creating, or supporting QPR, suicide prevention, training in our health classes, a website for 8th to 9th grade transitions, our Link Crew mentors, the counseling department's virtual bulletin board, connections lessons, and our 9th graders' first day. They also share harder to quantify feedback, such as how much it means to them when teachers know them and take interest outside of classes and grades. Again, our elementary students have impactful roles. For example, at Long Lots, the School Climate Committee led a review and revision of dismissal routines, collecting feedback from faculty and even other school districts. So far, they've received tremendous positive feedback that dismissal is safer and calmer. It's important to note that all these different committees collaborate with each other, faculty and outside guests, so there's a consistency in organization across the work. I think sometimes it seems as though all of this is somehow outside the regular bread and butter of school, which is our academic learning. But everything we do is about enhancing student achievement and success. Still, when we think about student voice, I think it's crucial in a school setting to include robust opportunity for student feedback on our core business, teaching and learning in classes. We are, for the first time this year, administering course evaluations for all students system-wide, grades 3 to 12. They will be anonymous, paper and pencil, and our teachers will use them as they reflect upon their practice, what, who, and how they teach. The process is iterative. Last year, there were pilot surveys and limited courses. This year, evaluations will be implemented across the district, and then faculty and students will provide feedback on the content and process to inform next year. In an effort to build trust and transparency, this past year we've worked to enhance our communications and outreach. We update the website to ensure effective messaging and include resources and archives for key initiatives. Civics Hub, No Place for Hate, Growth Mindset, DEIB, Transitions, and the Revitalized World Languages Department are among the revisions. I think everything I'm about to talk about is available on the website. One way we engage with families is to invite them to contribute, share, and engage in cultural exchange, promoting connection and understanding. At Long Lots, the PTA hosted a culture festival, which included food trucks with treats from around the world, a global music dance party, henna designs, and demonstrations of world instruments, taekwondo, calligraphy, and more. Kings Highway hosted its first ever Culture and Identity Night, where families shared stories, traditions, artifacts, and elements of their cultural heritage. Visitors explored interactive displays, engaged in meaningful conversations, and gained a deeper appreciation for one another's backgrounds. These events create a shared space for interaction and dialogue among different groups, strengthening relationships within school community and beyond. Southport CoLab, a Connecticut-based educational organization specializing in literacy, particularly focusing on supporting students with dyslexia and ADHD, selected Westport as a partner district due to our demonstrated commitment to innovative educational practices. We're in our third year of collaboration around evidence-based literacy instruction, which you may have heard of as the science of reading. What sets Westport's implementation apart is our comprehensive scope. Through the Fellow in Training program, 100 classroom teachers and special educators have received intensive Orton-Gillingham literacy training, and we've created a unified approach to literacy instruction to help every student. This work does not go unnoticed. At the most recent National Dyslexia Conference, Westport Public Schools was acknowledged as a model district, and this initiative could serve as a blueprint for other districts nationwide. This partnership exemplifies Westport's leadership in creating learning environments that support and challenge every student to reach their full potential. In October, the Westport Public Schools and Westport Library hosted two-session parent workshop with national leader Sylvia Del Carmen Roberts about growth mindset. Attendees learned how beliefs about our abilities shape our lives in important ways, how growth versus fixed mindsets drives our thinking and behavior, and how to put this knowledge into practice to help ourselves and our children become even more successful. Community conversations provide the community a forum not only to comment and offer feedback to the board and administration, but also to engage in more responsive, open dialogue. Twice a year in the fall in the afternoon and upcoming spring in the evening, we host facilitated conversations and invite all community members to participate. The topics prove far-ranging, and it's yet another way for us to learn what's important and concerning to our constituents. I would be surprised if anyone here has not ever attended a performance of Staples music students or our nationally recognized theater program, Staples Players. Candlelight has been a gift to the Westport community for over 60 years, and we've added 2 more free concerts, Pops at the Levitt and the Concert for Young People, to our annual programming. The music department has forged partnerships with the Westport Library, the Levitt, PTA Cultural Arts, and Westport Arts Advisory Committee, and maintains local community connections with various organizations, including Westpac, the Women's Club, A Better Chance, and the Wise Men and Women. Westport Museum of Contemporary Art regularly showcases student work, including now through March 2nd, a high school student art exhibition called Humans in Nature, A Changing Relationship. Go see it. I bring this up because it's wonderful, and also because you will soon be hearing further discussion about Staples Auditorium. As part of our capital improvement plan, we are asking for appropriations to upgrade the rigging and lighting, which are safety, not just aesthetic concerns and needs. But that work is bringing to the fore questions about the sound system and the hall itself, neither of which have been renovated in over 30 years. We will need to determine together what improvements are necessary and desirable, and what kind of public-private partnerships may fund them. Speaking of capital projects, we are so excited about the continuing work on a new Long Lots Elementary School. The Long Lots Building Committee has worked tirelessly and has solicited input from our faculty and administration to develop this conceptual, very preliminary design. It is everything that we on the educational specification side could ask for within reason, and I believe it's very pretty. Here you see again preliminary 3D view. Over the next few months, we'll learn more about costs and budget, construction and site plans, and the building committee will continue to meet with critical stakeholders, the wider community, and town boards. The building committee anticipates a September 2027 opening. And finally, budget. At our next board meeting, we will vote on the superintendent's proposed budget for school year 2025-26. The cost composition remains consistent. We're a people business and 80% of the budget is salary and benefits. Our goals as a national premier school district are to preserve and advance our current services in staffing and programming, maintain facilities, and implement the action steps of the many bold district initiatives and plans. I'm sure you hear we're very proud of our schools and grateful to and appreciative of all the people who nurture, develop, and improve this system so that our children thrive. You could not find a more dedicated, caring, creative team of professionals or a town more committed to education. Thank you for allowing me to share this with you. I look forward to listening to our first Selectwoman and then taking your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Another quick housekeeping. We have lots of people, I'm told, on the Westport Library YouTube channel and listening on channel 79. And if you are among those people watching us, you can send a question in on YouTube, on the live chat feature of YouTube, right on your screen there. And we will pick it up over here. Or if you're on channel 79 or on the YouTube channel, you can send an email to westportrotary@gmail.com. Simple, westportrotary@gmail.com, and our question takers will pick those up. So please send in your questions from afar, and we'll be very happy to take them. Jen Tooker is here with us again, which we're very pleased and honored to have her here. A graduate of University of Notre Dame, and there are plenty of rooters for University of Notre Dame here. She spent 22 years at General Re in a bunch of domestic and international management positions, and then decided to volunteer for Westport. And we've been very lucky that she has served on the Board of Education, the Board of Finance, and the Conservation Commission before becoming second Selectwoman in 2017 with Jim Marpy, who is in the House, and then first Selectman in 2021. So we're very happy to have her here, and welcome, Jen. Thanks for being with us.
You should be all set.
You run it from here? That's not.
Yeah, that is not the slide. Okay. View.
It's a pretty picture, I just don't know where it's from. Isn't the capital plan? Isn't the capital plan? Thank you, Dan. That's right. I'm going to reveal the new capital plan.
Strong card slide.
That's a good one.
All right. Third time's a charm.
Is this one I need to break out into like a...
No, we have it in there. We have a backup.
We have a
We
backup?
have a backup, yeah. Okay, I think we are good to go.
I think that's... Something's going on there with the...
I'll check with Alex.
That and that doesn't look alike. You see what I'm saying?
I think Alex will run it. You just let him know when to move on. I'll check with Alex. But you're
Okay.
good.
All right, just give us a minute here. We're going to try and figure out what's going on with the technology. And I am not the person to solve a technology problem, as anybody who works with me knows. So, we're good? Oh, so Alex is going to, okay, Alex is going to run it. Can we, okay, let's just hope that the next slide, nope, no, I mean, not next slide yet. Oh boy, this is going to be really fun. All right, here we go. I'm not sure why we're repeating there, but anyway, we're gonna keep going. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for bearing with us for a few minutes. Welcome. Welcome, as Jeff said, to the Trevs Forum. And I want to also add my condolences to the family. Chris was a good friend to me. He was a good friend to so many of you in the audience, and he was absolutely a very good friend to this community, including being behind the this exact room that we're sitting in. So I do want to acknowledge his passing. All right, I am very happy to be here with Board of Ed Chair Lee Goldstein. It's always fun to share the stage with you. This is our 4th year in a row. And I also want to extend my thank yous to our incredible Rotary Club, of which I am a member of the Westport Sunrise Rotary Club, but don't get to attend very frequently. And thank you to the library and the wonderful staff here for hosting us, and also for all of your very many contributions to Westport. And to all members of the community that are here this afternoon, thanks for coming out on a cold February Sunday, and we do it every year on this Sunday before Super Bowl, so it's become quite a tradition, as Jeff said, over the last 8 years. But it's great to have so many of you in person, and those of you online watching, thank you for joining us as well. We all share a passion for all things Westport, and we have a lot to talk about today, so I'm gonna jump right in. As your first Selectwoman, my guiding principle, and you've heard this from me before and you will hear it from me again, is to ensure that Westport remains the best place to live, work, play, and learn, thanks to Lee, in the region. A place where everyone is welcome and feels like they belong. This is what drives my administration every day, and it's the impetus behind every action we take and the benchmark by which we measure ourselves. Pretty lofty, right? Well, I feel great. We continue to make significant progress on the top 5 priorities I laid out when Andrea and I took office 3 years ago, as well as a number of other very important initiatives. And if there's one thing people have come to know about me over the past couple years, it is that I do what I say I'm going to do. I don't make empty promises, and I get things done. And I surround myself with people who look and act and feel the same. So we have achieved so much, and here are some of the highlights. Let's go ahead and dive in and start with the top 5 priorities. Oh, great. I didn't even have to say next slide. Okay, so I can't wait to talk about traffic. It is absolutely my favorite topic. I know it's the favorite topic of every one of you in this room, so we'll talk about it a little bit today. But I want to start by saying the Traffic and Pedestrian Safety Task Force are absolutely rocking it. They have gotten so much accomplished in the last couple of years, and specifically in the last year. They have tackled and taken action on well over 50 issues that you have brought forward to us as being important to you. So one of the things we are actually in the middle of concluding is our work with Ty and Bond on the Safe Streets for All grant. And we are concluding this draft safety action plan that is incredibly comprehensive and really quite extensive. It was presented at a public meeting last Wednesday. It's still in draft form, so public comments are still allowable until I think the 7th of February. It will serve, and pun intended, as a roadmap for us over the next couple of years as we tackle all the issues around keeping our streets safe. Also, we have, in conjunction, sorry, this is, you know what, I'm gonna just do that. Thank you. All right. Also, running alongside all the work we've been doing with the draft safety action plan, we have made some significant intersection upgrades. Probably most notably is on the Cross Highway corridor, the North Avenue intersection and the Bayberry intersection, and then also the new Creek Road and Greens Farms Road intersection as well. We've also done a great job, and I think Tony just said, I hope you're gonna talk about your sidewalks. We've done an amazing job upgrading our sidewalk infrastructure. And again, probably most notably that people will talk about and have actually thanked me for, in which I didn't do the work, so we should be thanking DPW and their contractors. But anyway, is Hills Point Road down at the beach, and also Main Street running north out of the center of town. But I know that many of you say, gosh, there has been a lot of sidewalk work, you know, have you been doing more? Well, let me give you a few data points. We have, in 2018, when we looked at our sidewalk condition index, it was at 48 out of 100, and now at the end of 2024, it's at 71. So yes, we have been actively upgrading your sidewalk infrastructure and network. We hope to have that index at 80 at the end of 2025. Next, please. All right, I go around town and I hear people talking and I overhear what they're saying. They're saying, gosh, you know, people are driving like crazy in this town, and where are the cops? Why are the cops not out there, you know, enforcing traffic laws and rules? Well, they are. This is a hot map of our traffic enforcement activity in Westport across our town. In 2024 alone, we have a 54% increase in traffic stops. This is, you know, we've been able to do this because I don't know, people do have short memories. So I don't know if you remember, 2 years ago, we put together we reinstated a traffic safety unit. And also last year, when we put the SSOs at the the school security officers at the schools, this also helped us with traffic enforcement. But we are our police force is actively out there serving you and trying to keep you safe and trying to keep our roads safe. I can assure you. This work is never done. We know that. We will continue to work hard to keep our roads safe and to keep you safe. But I know that not only will our police department, but also our our Traffic and Pedestrian Safety Task Force will be continuing this hard work that is actually just never done when it comes to traffic. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Longshore for a minute. So where are we on the Longshore Capital Improvement Plan, Longshore Park Capital Improvement Plan? A year ago, we accepted a plan, a capital improvement plan that laid out not only what new recreational facilities we want to have at Longshore, but where we should put it and the sequence with which we should handle this. Because we need to handle all these capital improvements over a period of time where we actually, hopefully, will minimize operational disruption, right? And so in that plan, the very first piece of it is to replace, rebuild, and move that maintenance facility. It's not a glamorous part of the plan, but that maintenance facility, not only is it an eyesore, it's not up to code, and it sits on prime property in the middle of our park. So that is the very first piece of what we're trying to do. We are before not only the land use body tomorrow night to talk about where we're going to move it in Longshore Park, but we're before the Board of Finance on Wednesday night to hopefully receive an appropriation for the design stage of this. We are not asking for $7 million on Wednesday night. That's not the phase of the project we're in. We're asking for dollars to help us design a new, up-to-code maintenance facility where we can also store our equipment safely. Next, please. So, the other thing that we have the other thing we have going on the Longshore, in the Longshore Park, is we have renovations happening at the Inn at Longshore. They are closed for the next couple of months. They will then reopen in April for the high season and close again next fall for the second phase of rehabbing that building. So there will be a number of cosmetic changes, and there will be a number of sort of back of the office operational changes in that building. We are thrilled that we have a tenant that shares our vision for that property and specifically for that building to make it the premier event space in Fairfield County. And I do believe it will be that once these renovations are done. All right, downtown. Let's talk about downtown. So, there is no question in anybody's mind that Parker Harding needs to be redone. Absolutely no question in anybody's mind. So we've been told by the land use boards that before, and by the way, we have a shovel-ready construction design that we could go out to bid tomorrow on if we wanted to. So we are shovel-ready on Parker Harding. But we've been told by the land use bodies that they want to see a more comprehensive, strategic, overall plan for all the parking lots in downtown before we put before we put a shovel in the ground. So we just completed a parking study, which concluded the same thing it concluded 10 years ago, that we do not need a parking structure in downtown. The way we can handle some availability issues and some issues with accessibility is to potentially sort of change a few of our strategies when it comes to what we're doing with parking, which there will be, I'm sure, plenty of debate on that. But what that has allowed us to do is to go back to the design phase on this side of the post road, including the Taylor lot, including the Imperial lot, and including greening up Jessup Green. So that's where we are. So we hope to continue to put together the overall design, the overall strategy, and then get back to being able to put shovels in the ground. Flood mitigation and stream management. Just to sort of give a little context again on this priority, we are a very wet town. We have 7 streams that run through the town, and that is not counting the Saugatuck River, and certainly it's not contemplating the fact that we are a coastal community. About 45% of our land in Westport is actually deemed wetlands. And so, and I believe, and probably some of you sitting in this room believe, that you are experiencing flooding issues in a way now that you weren't in the past. And so I asked the Flood and Erosion Control Board, which is a public board, they meet monthly publicly, to take on the strategy and the prioritization of how we're going to tackle stream management and flood mitigation issues in the long term. These are long-term projects. Long-term, expensive. It took us decades to get where we are now. It's going to take us decades to sort of make a change in this environment. So we continue to prioritize Pussy Willow Brook and have started some work there, and essentially on the stream management piece. But essentially what I want you all to know is anytime we replace a bridge, anytime we replace a culvert, we look at it through the lens of how are we dealing with flood mitigation and how are we dealing with stream management through this infrastructure upgrade, and are we leaving it in a better position tomorrow with the upgrade than we had yesterday when it was not. So we continue to work on this. So the last of the 5 priorities, and not because it is last, but it's just the one I'm choosing to speak of last today, is this, this concept that we want everyone in this community to feel welcome and to feel like they belong. It is a real goal for me, and I know it's a real goal for the school system, as you just heard from Lee. So I've chosen to talk about a couple things that we're doing towards this goal, but it's not an exhaustive list. But what I do want to start with is to say I'm so pleased to stand here before you today and tell you the reconstruction work that's been done on the Gillespie Center is completed, and the work on Susie's house in North Campo is just about completed. These are both town-owned properties operated by Homes with Hope. The Gillespie Center, as a reminder, is our emergency shelter, our community kitchen, and our food pantry, and you can see pictures of how it's been redone on the interior. And Susie's house is our congregate housing for young women, and you can see in the top left corner, that's the exterior of Susie's house. These are significant renovations, and these are clear investments in facilities that serve our most vulnerable. And we could not have done it without the help of Homes with Hope and their CEO, Helen McElinden, who's in the audience today, and the State Department of Housing and the Commissioner. But these are wonderful projects, and we're so grateful to be saying that we're at the bitter end of making those happen, at the bitter end of we're just about to cut the ribbon. So let's talk a little bit more about other infrastructure projects in this vein and in this environment. We are pursuing a project to renovate the buildings on Barron South. We have 5 buildings on that property. This one is probably the most well-known, Golden Shadows, and it's the largest, but we do have 5 buildings, and we want to renovate them into multifamily residences, including studio, 1- and 2-bedroom apartments that would all be deemed affordable. So it's a project, again, there is something before the Planning and Zoning Commission tomorrow night to rezone these buildings from single-family homes to multifamily homes. There is nothing before the commission to rezone the rest of the property. The rest of the property will stay as it stands, which is, we can only use it for very light recreational purposes. And so we are literally only talking about rezoning the actual buildings. We have no intention of expanding the footprint of the buildings, only renovating the inside. Nope, not quite yet. Thank you. So, and then another initiative that we have going under the affordable housing, banner, is that we've constituted an affordable housing committee. And they're gonna help guide me and the town through our strategy as we think about how do we increase our diverse housing stock, but also ensure that we're spending the Affordable Housing Trust Fund appropriately. And that trust fund today, or I guess I should say as of Friday, stands at over $800,000. And how that trust fund has built up over the last almost year is that we've added 0.5% of construction costs onto every project. So that fund will continue to grow, and it will be allocated towards affordable housing projects in town over time. And I'm very much looking forward to working with the new Affordable Housing Committee to do just that. All right, thank you. All right, let's talk a little bit about how we're supporting our residents, both our kids and our parents, so our families, on social emotional health and well-being issues. The work of Westport Together continues, and they do a fabulous job with delivering excellent programming and services on relevant topics that are important to our families today. And most recently, bringing a well-known presenter, Max Stossel, to talk about social media and your kids in sessions with both our parents and in sessions in the school. And I think that you'll see there's more to come this spring. Now, next, please. So not only do we take care of our families, but we also take care of our seniors. And our senior center is at the core of taking care of our seniors. And just to share a few data points about how busy we are there now. Our visits to the senior center have increased by 25%. The congregate lunches have increased by 38% just in the last year. And we've reached an 85% capacity in our classes. And, as you can see from these lovely photos, we've been able to open an upgraded outdoor space named in honor of, who many of you know, our very own Irma and Joe Schachter. So the Senior Center continues to be an incredibly important place for our seniors to connect, to eat, to socialize, and to know that the community cares deeply about them. Next, please. Also, while we're thinking about social and emotional health and well-being and mental health issues, there's another program that we've just recently put in place, effective yesterday, actually. We have signed a contract with Silver Hill Hospital. And the program really comes out of the idea that we know right now in Fairfield County, it's incredibly difficult to be seen initially by anybody to evaluate the state of somebody's mental health. It's incredibly difficult. And so what this contract does with Silver Hill is it is a free, urgent, not emergency, but urgent mental health assessment program open to all Westporters, regardless of income or age. And really what it's meant to do is we're trying to get people to get their assessments done within 24 to 48 hours instead of a usual, if any of you have had this situation, and maybe some of you have, it can take up to 6 months to be seen by somebody if you're really just looking for an assessment. And so we're trying to get people into Silver Hill within 24 to 48 hours. And how this works is if there is deemed, it's deemed that you need, that the individual needs further treatment, that would be then scheduled by the individual and paid for by the individual. But this initial assessment is part of this contract between the town and Silver Hill. So, like I said, it's incredibly difficult, and we know this, to get into initial assessment appointments in Fairfield County. So we are really making sure that we're hoping to fast track Westporters in this program. Please do, we're gonna run it through the Department of Human Services, and they're gonna handle the details, so that's actually how we'll be handling referrals. But we join New Canaan and Weston in this program. You heard Lee talk about this a little bit before, so I'm gonna just make a few comments. Certainly, Westport schools are striving to create an environment where all students feel that they belong and are free from bias, bullying, or hatred. And they're running this program designed by the ADL, No Place for Hate, in all 8 school buildings. So there really isn't, at the moment, a community aspect to this program. But we stand ready as a town to support the program. And if we do indeed design a community aspect to this program, it will be designed and fully vetted through our Team Westport group at their regular public meetings, so our residents can be part of the discussion and part of determining how we as a community would support this. And then last, on the program side of things, the library has launched within the last 18 months their Common Ground initiative, and I'm not sure how many of you have attended any of these programs or are familiar with this initiative, but it was launched to address the challenges of increasing social and political divisions. The program creates safe, unbiased spaces where individuals can explore complex topics, engage in respectful dialogue, and work together towards shared solutions. The program includes lectures, workshops, essay competition, and much more. The Common Ground Initiative plays a critical role in ensuring Westport is a place where everyone belongs and where people feel heard and valued. So please attend one of our events in the future. They're always advertised in the weekly email blasts the library puts out. So as I mentioned before, there is so much going on in this space. I just chose to mention these, but it is incredibly important to our entire community that we are a Westport where people feel like they belong, they feel safe, they feel heard, and they feel respected. But also, we are a community that takes sustainability incredibly seriously as well. So last year, so I want to catch you up on a couple things we're doing in this space. Last year, right here at this meeting, I introduced the Skip the Stuff campaign, which was it is a joint initiative between Sustainable Westport, the Westport Downtown Association, the Chamber, the Farmers Market, and our own Conservation Department, to encourage all food establishments to change the way they distribute accessories, such as utensils, napkins, condiment packs. You know, many of those things are put in the takeout bag and very frequently not even used or opened and tossed immediately into the trash. So over the last year, we had a team of interns visit all 230 plus food establishments in Westport. We educated their staff, and we shared campaign materials, as what you see here. And I genuinely hope you've seen this logo around town and that you've seen a change in the way accessories such as utensils, napkins, and condiment packs are distributed. A couple of other things that we're doing on the town side, we continue to electrify our fleet. Our police department continues to lead the state in electric vehicles, and that's not just patrol cars, but as you can see in this picture, it's also electric bikes, and it's also, I'm not going to use the right term, but an electric buggy. That's what we patrol compo with in the height of the season instead of using a patrol car, a traditional patrol car. We are also electrifying our fleet not only in the PD, but across all of our departments in town. We just purchased 2 EMS electric fly cars. We just purchased an electric car for our building department. We constantly, anytime that the technology is there and we can electrify a piece of equipment or a car or a vehicle, we do it. And we're doing that constantly across all departments. We also have 3 paperless initiatives going on in Town Hall right now. I would tell you that actually almost looks like my desk. What's missing from that picture is the lipstick on the coffee cup. But so, you know, we are a paper intensive, or have been, municipal government, federal government, state government. We're all very, very paper intensive operations. So we're in the middle of really redoing our land use permitting process and getting that online. We're in the middle of redoing our purchase order process and having that be completely paperless. And the fire department is in the middle of putting all of their records online and being completely paperless. So slowly but surely, these are the things we're doing. Now I want to talk about long lots, and I'll be very brief because Lee covered it, but this is a natural segue, strangely, from sustainability to talking about the single largest building project that this town has ever seen. And the reason it's a natural segue is this project is being designed as a building with enhanced state-of-the-art sustainability. And these are the kinds of things we can do when we take on large infrastructure projects in this town. We take it on ensuring that in the long term, it will be an example of sustainability. So as Lee said, where we are, I always love to show the before and after, get people a little bit excited. It is, Lee's right, this is a rendering that's its early stages, but where we are is, you know, I assume, as Lee mentioned, we're gonna see the building committee before land use bodies and appropriation bodies sometime over the next couple of months, and the plan is to have that building open in fall of 2027. This is, you guys, this is the most exciting project we have going on from a community standpoint. It is, yes, it's big, it's complex, but it is truly exciting. We're building a school for elementary school kids and preschool kids for generations to come. And I'm so grateful to the building committee and the work they've done and all the stakeholders that have been heavily involved in this really, truly project of a generation. So another project of a generation, just because we don't want to just do one, because that would be kind of, you know, underperforming. The next project that we really want to bring to the community is the potential for a public safety complex. So just to give a little context on this project, when I came into office, there was about $70 million, 2018 dollars, allocated on the capital forecast for upgrades to our fire stations. Nothing for our police department and nothing for EMS. And I looked at it and I thought, I don't think that feels right to me. And so I went to the chiefs and I said, let's rethink this. Let's think a little bit more strategically. Let's think about what are the future needs of our community? What are the future needs of your agencies? What do you think the future demands are going to be on your agencies? And let's think about this differently. So we are in the very early stages. We are in the feasibility stage and in a really, truly very early stages of looking at a public safety complex. And I'm not gonna upstage what we're doing on Thursday night, so I'll say, please join us Thursday night if you want to know a little bit more about where we are on the concept and what we're thinking about strategically for the future. And what I will tell you is, this is a project that would touch every single one of you. Every single one of you. Every single resident and every single business owner. And so that's why it's incredibly important for us to include you from the very beginning, to get your feedback, to get your thoughts, and to get your thoughts on the viability of this project early. Okay, last thing I'm going to talk about before I kind of try to wrap it up, because I know you guys have questions. Startup Westport. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. So just to remind you all, this is a public-private partnership that we launched almost 2 years ago, and it was our goal to create an ecosystem of tech and innovation founders and funders. And so in just under 2 years, we have hosted about a dozen events, both networking and content related, drawing hundreds to each one. We've also launched a mentorship program. We're on our third cohort as we speak, serving over 200 mentors and mentees. We've also launched SIGs, which are special interest groups. And those are meetings where you kind of go deep on a vertical. So we have one SIG in AI, one in marketing, and one in cybersecurity. We have one in female tech leaders coming, and one in fundraising coming. And we also launched the Innovator of the Year, honoring in 2024 our own Jimmy Pitaro, the ESPN chairman. So look out for this event and this honor and this award in 2025. I can't thank the library enough for their partnership on this. We would never have been able to get this off the ground in the way we have without their help. And if you don't know anything about Startup Westport, please go to startupwestport.org and sign up to get our email blasts about all of our events. All right. So I know I've thrown quite a bit of information at you this afternoon, and that was actually intentional. It truly is just a fraction of what we are working on, in addition to just, running the daily operation of a town and serving you, the public. But one more thing I do want to talk about. Another campaign promise Andrea and I made was to start a monthly newsletter to keep residents and business owners informed on all things Westport. It's short, it's informative, it provides links to town boards and commission meetings where all of these projects are regularly discussed. So if you're not receiving this, please either call or email my office or go to westportct.gov and sign up. This job is just as much about listening as it is about leading. So I know there are comments regularly on social media or in the local blogs that all I do is appear in photo ops. So I think it's kind of important today to take the opportunity to dispel that myth. This is a serious 7-day-a-week job. I spend a lot of time out in the community talking to all of you because that's how I learn. And it's how I make informed decisions that reflect the needs of Westport now and in the future. Some of the best ideas come from you. Startup Westport is a great example of that. So please share your ideas with me, with Andrea, with Candace. We take the public feedback portion of our job very seriously. My door is always open, and I hope you all know that. And I certainly cannot ever deliver a State of the Town address without thanking my incredibly talented and dedicated town employees, many of whom are in the audience today. Nothing, absolutely nothing we talked about today would get done without my leadership team and all my fellow colleagues on staff. So I want to thank our exceptional police, fire, and EMS departments that keep our communities safe. A special call out to you all. Many of them are here today as well. You are the best of the best, and we are so fortunate you have chosen to make your careers here. So it is all of us together. Our town employees, police, fire, EMS, teachers, residents, business owners, nonprofit leaders, fellow elected leaders, Selectwoman Andrea Moore and Candace Savin, who ensure that Westport continues to be the best place to live, work, play, and learn in the region. There are many beautiful towns across the country, but we are so fortunate to have an engaged and thoughtful community of people who care so deeply about our collective future. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. You make Westport so unique. You make Westport, makes Westport have a strong foundation for the future. Thank you for your time today. I'm incredibly honored to be your first Selectwoman. And before we go to questions, I want to conclude with a poem from our poet laureate, Donna Dish, who is also in the audience today. Dwell. Come in. Settle. Be a genie inside the bulb. Still and mute as a penny. Be a tourist in this temple far from home and the age-old race. Be curious. Be harbored. Be held. Look out. Look in. See for yourself how you might bloom. Thank you, Donna. All right. With that, I think Lee and I are happy to take some questions. Going this way. That was great. Great. Sure. Go for it.
So thank you, Lee and Jen. And I will tell you, I'm quite certain we have plenty of questions, and they might not all get asked and answered, so forgive us with you. But as we honor them for being here, I just want to honor all of you for being here, too. So forgive me while I'm Thank you. Okay, we're going to start from the top down, start with the federal government. There are a few things going on that are maybe out of our control, but there are a lot of questions, and I'm trying to take the ones with the most questions, so and trying to get them all into one or two questions. But there are a lot of questions about concern from federal funding cutoff of various programs, from DEI directives that we're either getting or not getting, how we're going to protect the citizens of Westport who need protecting from ICE, any other concerns about local funding and actions on transportation funds, threat to federal education funding, especially in places that don't repute DEI, et cetera. Do we know of any of the federal programs that are going to affect Westport schools or town, and what discussions are going on about that?
In terms of schools, we are fortunate, I guess. We don't get that much federal funding, and I saw this number the other day, and I don't have it on the top of my head. Our commitment will always be to serve the children in our schools. The thing about public schools is we receive children as they come to us. And I know that a lot of people have asked questions about ICE coming into schools. We don't think that will happen. I hope to God that doesn't happen. There are protocols and policies and laws in place, and we are getting counsel, from the state and from our own attorneys. I think that I worry more about, children and adults, staff and faculty who are frightened, who are targeted, and we will continue to support them as best we can. And I'm scared that I am fearful of the material harms that will come to vulnerable multiple people and to all of us, and I am concerned about the ways that we will all be spiritually or psychically diminished because of this fear.
So I can talk to the town side from a standpoint of federal dollars. We really don't have any federal dollars that we use from an operational standpoint. We did have a couple grants that we were closing out anyway, and so there really is no effect on the town side from a financial standpoint.
And do you anticipate any issues regarding DEI and the pronouncements that have come in DEI for towns that maybe still want to support DEI through maybe no hate campaigns and those sorts of things?
I can only speak to Westport. I'm not worried at all about Westport. Like I said, we don't rely on federal funds anyway. So, and you know, I think we've reaffirmed from a leadership standpoint what we're doing in this town. So I don't worry about federal funds.
And has there been any connection with ICE, or we probably wouldn't be the first target of ICE, but has there been any communication with regard to Connecticut or Westport with regard to ICE maneuvers in Westport?
No.
No, okay, great. So, I mean, there were a lot of questions about the federal concern. I suspect it is a little early to really know what's going on, but the fact we don't have federal funds is very, very good thing, and that was a lot of questions. Another lot of questions, taking a step down to the state thing. I also assume maybe it's a little early to talk about the governor thing, Jen, but what about the governor thing?
Thanks, Jeff. So I guess I will be honest. I'm evaluating some options on a going forward basis, but we're here today to talk about Westport, and I want to stay focused on Westport today.
Thank you very much. I knew I'd get a lot of grief if I didn't ask that question, so
Yeah, I figured.
Asked and answered. We'll no doubt hear more about that. A lot of questions on the environment. And we're doing a lot of great things on the environment, the Skip the Stuff campaign. One question was, what if we know of an establishment that does not skip the stuff, and how do we report it? That's also applied to the ordinance on single-use plastic, which I think occurred right as COVID was getting going and never really got traction. And there are many, many stores, restaurants, establishments that still use single. What are the plans for doing that? That's kind of on the small scale, and then sustainability on the larger scale is a question. But let's stick with the skip the stuff and the single-use plastic.
Sure. So I think that we took advantage of the Skip the Stuff campaign to also remind the various food retailers and establishments of our single-use plastic ban. Both of those campaigns are educational campaigns. They are not, there's no financial penalty associated with not adhering to those ordinances. And so I would recommend that if you see an establishment that isn't adhering to those, please give the Conservation Department a call, and we'll go back out and do more education, because that's the campaign. The campaign is absolutely education-based. Both of them are.
So no enforcement particularly, but
there's no enforcement written into any of the codes on these.
But the Conservation Department is to be made aware, and they can at least get the word out. And
indeed.
Great, great. And then on a little bit more of a macro scale, during the past year, you mentioned, and one of the great things about these presentations is many of the questions come in and they've been answered to some extent, but could you talk a little bit more about ways that you have prioritized the environment and worked with the administration, your department heads, governing bodies to ensure that Westport is reducing its impact on water, energy, and waste being a really big problem as well, I think.
Yeah. So, as I said before, well, a couple things. I think the fact that we have prioritized sidewalk rehabilitation is absolutely not only a nod to the exercisers in the audience, and not only a nod to pedestrian safety, but it is also a nod to sustainability, a very big nod. And we've spent millions of dollars in the last 6 years rehabilitating our sidewalks and ensuring that we have good connectivity within downtown, around our schools, and to our leisure facilities. So that's, I would say, number one. Number two, all the work we're doing when it comes to stream management and flood resiliency is a direct nod to sustainability. And as I said, this work is long, it is expensive, it is strategic, it will not happen overnight, but we are committed to becoming a more resilient community with respect to flood. We need to, we must, but it is work that will take decades to do. Also, anytime we have an infrastructure project, a large infrastructure project, we look at it through a sustainability lens. I just explained what's going on with long lots. We're thrilled that we're going to have an enhanced sustainable building. Any plans we have on anything, anything we're doing, any infrastructure project we're doing, we look at it through a lens of sustainability. So that's what I will say. I will also say we have actively looked at a number of opportunities, not a number, 3 opportunities to increase our open space. It's not easy. I have outright declined on 2 opportunities because they just did not make sense financially, nor did they make sense from a standpoint of where they were and how they would add to our catalog of open space. But there is a 3rd opportunity that we have not said no to yet, and we are still looking at actively. So I think we're committed to try, but you know, if anybody knows where some open space is around here, I'd like to know. There's not much left. But anyway, we continue to actively look at opportunities to increase our stock of open space. And then you saw some of the things we're doing as a town. I shared those with you before. So I don't know however many more things I can talk about.
Well,
What else would you like me to say?
Well, I don't know if people realize when you say sustainability in long lots, it will be geothermal heating. There's people on the building committee who are heading that up who can talk more robustly about it, but that is an almost fully sustainable building, and the geothermal is a tremendous addition to that. In the schools, every one of our schools composts. We too have done a lot more paperless things, to some people's satisfaction or not. A lot of the classes at Staples have e-textbooks and no paper textbooks anymore. And again, it's something that we too think about whenever we're doing something new.
Great. Do you identify those 3 open spaces that you've looked at?
I'm not going to identify one that I'm still looking at.
That you're still looking at? Okay. To the schools, Lee, how is, a little bit open-ended, but how are you dealing with AI? Hot topic among everyone.
That's actually interesting. Last
They're all
year-
interesting.
Yeah, they're all interesting. It's timely because last year or the year before, I talked about our strategic plan. And our strategic plan, half of it is devoted to student wellness, social emotional learning, student leadership, as I talked about today, student voice, a growth mindset. The other half, which we would want to be sort of an academic half, was about collaborative problem solving. And that just came to a bit of a standstill. It never got the traction we would have liked. And in the meantime, AI has just exploded. And a lot of, I'd say a year or 2 ago, a lot of what we were receiving from school board associations and sort of guidance was a lot about firewalling AI. How do you ensure that students never use AI to cheat? And we got a lot of that. And that's just not the world we live in. Students should use AI while still learning the really fundamental skills and capacities that we need them to be able. Every student needs to communicate, write, speak, listen, and read, and also understand fundamentals of math, but in the world that we live in. And so that is becoming the academic half of our strategic plan. It's not fleshed out yet, but it will be soon. And that's on the student side. On the faculty and administrative side, there are a lot of ways we, I don't know if people watched, but we just received a transportation study, and it wasn't AI, but in figuring out bus routes, we will next year have 2 or 3 fewer bus routes just because of routing differences. We will also imagine administrators' time will be less spent on things like scheduling. Facilities should be able to be helped by using AI. So we're looking at ways to integrate it.
And is there a concern about it's creeping its way into the classroom with relaxed academic rigor?
It has bolted into the classroom. So the project isn't to pretend that's not happening. The project is to ensure that students are still doing the thinking, the reasoning, the communicating. So there are our teachers will receive PD in ways to use AI, but not supplant the human aspect. And we would never look to machines to do what humans should do, but machines do calculate and, things like that.
Great, thanks. Jen, back to town buildings. There were a couple concerns about the proposed plan for the building at Longshore, the park maintenance facility, the size of it, the location of it. That is a location that is appropriate, makes sense. Is it appropriate? Are there other places in town where that could go?
Specifically the maintenance building, the maintenance shed.
Yeah.
No, so if Pete Rakowicz were here, he would tell you we've done all of that looking. We don't have a whole lot of open space to build something, because it's not just about the shed, it's also about the maintenance equipment. We have all sorts of trucks and maintenance equipment that are currently sitting in parking lots at Longshore. So we want it's not only about a shed, but it's also about the parking for the equipment. So that demands a little bit more space than probably what people were visually seeing from a standpoint of just building another shed of about the same size. So Pete has done the work. There is nowhere else in town that we can legitimately put it. And so we're looking to move it within the park.
Okay. Sort of for both of you, it wouldn't be a question and answer without questions about the garden and at Long Lots. What is the decisioning process to determine whether the garden will move to Barron South or another location, and when will that decision possibly be made?
Sure. So I sent a direct letter, snail mail letter to every gardener this past week, and again reiterated my interest in moving the garden permanently to Barron South, sort of adjacent to the senior center. Many of the gardeners back in October took a walk around that land with myself and Pete Rakowicz. Included in that letter was also a schematic of what the garden would look like, and including many of the wants and needs from the gardeners that they had identified, to the extent that they would be moving, or even to the extent that they would be rebuilding at Long Lots in 3 years. And so I continue, I've said it since the very first report in October of 2023, I continue to believe that Barron South is a better spot, permanent spot for the community garden. There would not be access issues around school hours. There's infrastructure. It's a beautiful piece of land. The part of Barron South we would be putting the garden on would actually be reinstating it back to its original purpose. It was a garden back in the day. That's why there's irrigation already in the land. And so I just think it would be a great spot in the center of town. And gardeners wouldn't have to wait 3 years for long lots to be built. We could move them and they could commence their gardening at this point, not this year, it's too late, but certainly next year. And so the decision-making process is, you know, I think that the gardeners need to want to move. And I am very, very happy to work with them, as is my staff, to make that happen. And like I said, to build something collaboratively with them. The schematic that we sent out may not make everybody happy. We're happy to talk about it. It was just a starting point. But I think that the gardeners need to show that they are interested in moving, and we'll get it done. So what would happen is we'd go before the Parks and Rec Commission to ask for their approval to use part of Barron South for this. We would then go before the Planning and Zoning Commission. It would not need a zoning change. This gardening is considered passive recreation, which is what Barron South is zoned for. So, but it would need an 824, which means we're using the property differently tomorrow than we were yesterday. And in this instance, it would be considered an upgrade for sure. And then we would have to go before the appropriation bodies to get the money to do it. I've been very clear from the beginning, I would be willing to ask the appropriation bodies to ask the town for the money. So to me, I've encouraged, in my letter, I encouraged all the gardeners individually to reach out to me and let's start talking about this. I'm very, very serious about this being a better spot. And I would be delighted to work with the group on this. And I think it would also be the better, just back to your question, Jeff, and I think you were gearing it towards Lee, but I think it would be better for the Long Lots campus to also have that space that is currently allocated for the garden, to have that be buffer around from the standpoint of next to the neighbors. At the moment, that is going to be very, very hard to have a buffer on that campus. So I think that that's really important, and I think it would be, like I said, a great solution for everybody involved. Thank you.
Any other comment, Lee? You're good with that?
Good with that.
Good with that, okay. Can you give us a little update on the present plan for the Saugatuck development, the hamlet, and kind of in conjunction with that, the dredging project that has been going on and probably will forever?
Speaking of federal government.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll take the hamlet first, I guess. So the hamlet's plans were submitted at the end of last week. I have not personally seen them, but they have been submitted at the end of last week. And so I think where we are in the process is we will start to have some public meetings where those plans are presented in a big picture, strategic way. And then obviously each land use board is going to have to see pieces of it, right? But we have suggested to the hamlet, and they have agreed that they need to we need a few kind of presentations to the public that is overall and strategic, and not just piecemeal by piecemeal. Not that the Conservation Department sees this and the Shellfish Commission sees that and the Planning and Zoning Commission sees that. So the first couple of meetings about this development will be overall and strategic and informative in nature, and then they definitely are ready to start to seek approvals from our various land use bodies. So we will be in touch. We plan to, I want to say probably in the next couple of weeks, plan the first big strategic community meeting. We'll make sure it is well advertised so people can join, and we'll take it from there. So that is moving. While it's been 2 years since we had heard from them officially, that project is moving. Now, I wish I could say the same for the dredging. So that is a federal project. It is not run locally. It is not even run by the state. It is run by the Army Corps of Engineers, because that's a federal waterway. Saugatuck River is a federal waterway. And the holdup is that silt is contaminated. The silt that we would actually dredge out of the river is contaminated. And as a result, Army Corps of Engineers, the federal government, needs to find a particular place to actually store long-term that silt, and they don't have a place for it. And we are in the same situation as Greenwich on an Army Corps of Engineer project and as Bridgeport. So there are 3 communities that have contaminated silt. We're all waiting for the Army Corps of Engineers to find a place to deposit it. Once they do, the actual dredging itself is going to be very quick, but it will not start unless we know that there is a place to store the silt. So that has been the holdup from the very beginning. The dollars have been appropriated. They were appropriated 3 years ago through legislation. So that's not the issue. And there are no state and no local dollars involved in this project at all. And people are probably frustrated because they're seeing the VFW get dredged, right? But I'm guessing that their silt is not as, there's a difference in the composition of the silt. Plus, that's a private project, and this is a federal project, so it's all very different. Very, very different.
And to be clear on the Hamlet, the next couple weeks we'll be seeing plans or things that they've decided they're going to try to build or want to build for
absolutely.
Information, not for opinions. No charrette type thing. This is for...
Well, this will be their submission for a site plan. They will present it in a holistic way, in a strategic way, you know, from top down, because our land use permitting and decision-making process is very segmented, right?
Yep.
And so normally a development would go through in a very segmented way, and only little pieces of information would be divulged that would be under the purview of the board they're in front of. But with this project, it's the largest, you know, that we've undertaken in a private development. It's very complicated, and so we have asked them to sort of do some presentations to the public on a holistic basis of what they're really trying to do with details, and then they'll start the permitting process.
Great, okay, thanks for that clarity. We're running a little over. We got started a little late, so I'm going to ask for forbearance, ask just a couple more questions because I have so many. Lee, tell us about cell phones in Staples and the schools and everything. And we haven't had one cell phone go off in here, so that's to our credit.
Cell phones and wearable technology are banned K-8 from kindergarten through 8th grade in our schools. At the high school, cell phones are not allowed in classes. Students are allowed to have their cell phones as they pass between classes in the cafeteria. Our superintendent has made it very clear that he supports a cell phone ban throughout the high school, from bell to bell, we say. Wilton has this year, starting in, I think, November, they banned cell phones at the high school entirely. So we are using that because there was, I would say K-8 parents felt very strongly in support of a cell phone ban. At the high school, teachers almost, like very high percentage, 80 and above, support a cell phone ban. Even teachers who say, I have seniors, and if they have their phones, I don't make a big deal of it, say, you know, I'd like a cell phone ban because I see these kids and I'd like them to sit down and just talk to each other and instead of pulling out their phones. Parents at the high school have been very mixed. So we are looking to Wilton to see how it's going. So before February break, so I guess in the next couple weeks, there will be a group of Staples faculty, some PTA, some students from the student newspaper to go to Wilton and see how it's working. Then the superintendent will hold more town hall type conversations with specifically Staples parents and students, and then we'll go from there.
Any predictions?
Yeah, I predict that next year there will be a cell phone ban at the high school, but I don't know. I'm looking at fellow board members in the audience, they're nodding. I think it will happen.
You heard it here, folks. See, it is worth coming to the state of the
That may
town.
be one where we don't ask students for too much feedback.
No charrette on cell phones at Staples. Yeah. So I don't want to overstay my welcome, so I am going to apologize for the questions we didn't get to. Jen and Lee will be here for a bit afterwards, so you can maybe break in and
You
ask
know
them
where to
questions.
find us.
Yeah, yeah. Or they might slip out the side door as soon as we, no, thank you all for coming, and thanks
Thank
for
you
these
all.
great
Thanks so
questions.
much.
Thank you, Jen and Lee.
Thank you all for coming.